There is COVID-19 pandemic, which has had an unprecedented impact on the normal functioning of all the organs of the Union, which forces us to this virtual meeting far from the warmth of the physical meeting to which we are used. Then, the session of the Assembly coincides with the end of the 4-year term of this Commission. This is an opportunity for me to express to all the African states and leaders my grateful thanks for the support and care I have constantly received throughout my mission. It is a unique experience that I have lived alongside you and which has strengthened my determination to make the African Union, with your support, the instrument par excellence of integration, peace, and development of the continent. Here, I would like to pay special tribute to all the heads of state, champions of their respective themes, on whom I would have liked to mention for the valuable contributions they have made to our collective endeavor.
Excellencies, Excellencies, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, the year 2020 will go down in history as the one that witnessed the spread of this pandemic, coronavirus, whose health, socio-economic and political consequences remain yet to be assessed as the pandemic continues to wreak havoc. Of course, our continent has not escaped this tragedy, even if its negative effects have been countered and indeed contained by the admirable political will of our leaders. This will was expressed through the development of a joint strategy, a multifaceted strategy, including the mobilization of public authorities, the private sector, and the international community to support the Africa in the face of this terrible pandemic. The unity of action and solidarity among African states has been admirable and demonstrates our resilience and our ability to face adversity together. In our fight against this pandemic, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, Chairman of the Union, has demonstrated exceptional leadership. This leadership was manifested through a series of innovative initiatives, articulated in the acquisition of medicine and equipment, the treatment of the thorny issue of the debt of Africa, and the imperative need of acquiring vaccines against COVID-19. President Ramaphosa has thus distinguished himself by showing deep concern about the effective action which makes him the indisputable African Union in the fight against COVID-19. Collaboration and coordination backed by the sharing of responsibilities anchored in the principle of subsidiarity have enabled our continent to resist to the virulence of COVID-19. This is the moment for me to commend the appropriate organs of the Union, which through Africa CDC make a remarkable contribution to our fight against this scourge. The upheavals induced by COVID-19 have not diverted and digressed us from the priority issues of our Union, in particular, regional integration, issues of peace and security, governance and development. The establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, one of the flagship projects of our organization, and its implementation on 1 January this year is a strong vector for the integration of our continent. This integration is the very raison d'être of our organization. We know that with the development of this free trade area, and the success of this free trade area depends on the free movement of people and goods, the establishment of infrastructures, and the absence of any form of intra or interstate violence. The ambitious project, Silencing the Guns, an important strategic objective, lies at the very heart of our action for peace and security. The correlation between the issues of peace and security with economic exchanges, the right of establishment, the construction of infrastructures, the individual and collective development of citizens, the involvement of young people and women in socio-economic development has assumed here a predominant place. Terrorism, community conflicts, violent extremism, violent election-related crises, transnational crime, and are the real gaping wounds of Africa which prevent it from moving forward. We must put an end to these tragedies which stick to the continent and tarnish its image in order to rekindle the hope of Africans and to build the Africa we want. All my action over the past 4 years has been guided by the concern about strengthening our union, both in its internal structures and in its presence on the international scene. Internally, the institutional reform aims at boosting the effectiveness of the Commission to make it the engine of change. It is also intended to be an adequate response to put an end to the dysfunctions and the shortcomings that have marked the life of the Union. At the international level, we have endeavored to elevate the rank and the voice of Africa through the establishment of fruitful strategic partnerships, respectful of our values and taking into account our interests. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this session of the Assembly will have the historical particularity of electing the leadership of the restructured Commission and thus overhaul. The new Commission will have to complete the reform, fulfill without delay the pressing expectations of the states, and quickly settle down to execute the flagship projects of Agenda 2063. If there is one sector that is particularly close to my heart, and on which I admit the term that is ending has not given the prominence it deserves, it is very much culture. Africa has a vast cultural and artistic heritage, which, because for a long time it has been ignored or buried under the yoke of colonization, has not contributed as it should to the shaping of the African personality. It is to place this theme back at the center of building an African conscience and an African identity that the African Union has decided to dedicate the year 2021 to arts, culture, and heritage, levers for building the Africa we want. The new Commission, therefore, faces an immense and exalting challenge. The cultural and artistic wealth of Africa has a common unifying base, capable of galvanizing the common wills of African peoples, those of the continent as well as those of the diaspora. I thank you for your kind attention.